Aurora's new police chief says he wants to focus on the future.
But many community members say that the long-troubled department still hasn't fully reckoned with its past. Your reporter in Aurora, Kelly Worthman, sat down for a one-on-one interview with the APD chief, Todd Chamberlain.
Yeah, and there were no shortage of issues, of course, to talk about when it comes to the department.
Yeah, and you know what, Karen? I asked him point blank, why do you want to have this job? Why do you want to lead the Aurora Police Department? And he told me he really has a passion for law enforcement and a desire to lead, as well as a commitment to serve. Chief Todd Chamberlain has 35 years of experience and comes to Aurora after a career with the Los Angeles Police Department. He comes to APD at a time when it is really in the midst of a consent decree issue with the Attorney General's office, which found a history and pattern of racially biased policing within the department, as well as high-profile excessive force cases like the death of Elijah McClain. Now, Chamberlain told me while he wasn't part of the department's past, he does take accountability and wants to create a better future.
I want the community to get to know me. Again, they don't know me from Adam, and in a large part, I don't know them, so I think that's really a positive thing because I think it kind of brings an open book.
There's a lack of trust, it seems, between the community and this department and who leads it. How do you see that changing with you being in this role?
Well, again, I'm a realistic optimist, so I don't know what has occurred in the past. I think that's important to understand, but I think what's more important is what's in the future. And I think that this is an opportunity to kind of change that note. There's going to be a strategic plan that there's never going to happen again, that we're never going to mistreat people. We're never going to get in a situation where we have to have an outside entity come to tell us what we needed to do or not do. That's my goal.
Well, as for that consent decree I mentioned, that means the department will be monitored until 2027. But the chief says he really looks at this as an opportunity to have a long-term strategic approach to developing the department so that it doesn't revert back to those behaviors from the past.
Now, you touched on the issue of trust, and this is a department that's seen a lot of leadership changes. He's now the 7th police chief in the last decade. We know that a lot of people in Aurora felt like they were shut out of this hiring process and say that's another example of their trust being broken. So how does he go about repairing that?
It's a great question, and when I also asked him, and he says, listen, this was not a snap decision by the city or even for himself to want to apply and be part of this department. He also is planning to meet with community groups as well as neighbors so that they can get to better know him, vice versa. He, of course, is asking for time, all right, and faith that will allow him to demonstrate who he is and what he brings to the table. You have to remember, Chamberlain has really only been here and at the helm for 2 weeks now, and he came amid the misinformation crisis as it relates to gangs. I did ask him about the concerns regarding the gang from Venezuela and gang violence in general, and he told me this is one of his top priorities, which includes working with state and federal leaders on this issue. He did address this issue, in fact, last week. You can find all of that coverage, which we provided, but right now it's on our website, cbscolorado.com.
All right. You, of course, have done a lot of reporting on youth committing crime in Aurora. It's a major concern for that community. So how does he plan to handle that and tackle that one?
Sure. I mean, that's another top issue for him. And he says the diversity of Los Angeles, where he came from, right, is much like that of Aurora. So he is familiar with some of the issues that often face diverse communities. He also has a history of working with the school district, the Los Angeles School Police Department, and connecting with youth at that level. The chief telling me he is very data driven, and so he's going to be looking at the statistics of youth crime within the city, like who is committing the crimes, who is being victimized, what are their ages, and then coming up with an intervention and prevention plan. That is something that he repeated quite a bit during our one-on-one interview, guys, that he is big on intervention and prevention. He has a history of implementing programs for both youth and adults, and he can't wait to put those into effect.
Yeah, it seemed like he was really open and candid during y'all's conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
And Kelly she's going to focus on stories that impact you the most in Aurora. If there's a story you think she should cover, she wants to hear from you. You can always reach out to her through cbscolorado.com and call our tips line.